It's important to note the historic rationale of those who in ancient times offered up their own children to idols. They believed that the sacrifice of blood rejuvenated and strengthened the deity to whom it was dedicated, while at the same time binding the spirit to the presenter of the sacrifice. In other words, when they sacrificed their children to an idol, they became spiritual slaves to the demon it represented. Even more frightening was the effect upon the spiritual realm. Greater power was released through the outpouring of innocent blood. The book of Kings recounts a battle where one of the descendants of Lot's daughters, the king of Moab, was about to face certain defeat at the hands of the Israelites and their larger, though spiritually compromised, army. In a desperate attempt to curry favor with his gods and gain the spiritual advantage, the king offered up his oldest son and heir on the wall of his city as a sacrifice. The fact that it was a burnt offering tells us that it was undoubtedly made to Baal, Moloch, or Ashteroth. And what is even more sobering is what happened next. And there came great wrath against Israel, and they withdrew from him and returned to their own land. The sacrifice of innocent blood apparently tipped the scales and gave the pagan king victory over a more powerful army that was no longer enjoying the blessing of God.
The Moabite stone is an account written by the King of Moab, giving his version of events that are roughly equivalent to those found in 2 Kings 3. This was discovered in 1868 and is a remarkable find confirming the biblical account. In lines 15 through 19 it says, "And I went in the night and fought against it from the daybreak until midday. And I took it and I killed the whole population, 7,000 male subjects and aliens, and female subjects, aliens, and servant girls. For I devoted them to destruction for Ashtar-Chemosh. And from there I took the vessels of Yahweh, and I presented them before the face of Chemosh. And the king of Israel had built Jahaz, and he stayed there throughout his campaign against me, and Chemosh drove him away before my face." This amazing yet little-known archaeological find corroborates the account of 2 Kings chapter 3. Now, in particular, this places a burden on those who would claim that the Bible simply made up accounts of pagans sacrificing their children or other humans simply in order to justify their own practices and their own war against these pagan nations. Well, the most obvious similarities are that there was indeed a battle between these two nations. The names of the gods correspond correctly, and it is said that Chemosh drove him away before my face, which does correspond with the record in 2 Kings 3, indicating from the point of view of the king of Moab that Israel had been driven away. Because it says quite clearly, "I took and killed the whole population, 7,000 male subjects and aliens, plus many others, females, aliens, and servant girls, specifically devoted for destruction for Ashtar-Chemosh." The king of Moab perhaps perceived that he had secured some of the holy objects of the Yahweh religion, and he brought them before the face of his own God as a sort of demonstration of honor and victory. Now, some modern archaeologists will say that Ashtar is simply a variation of Ashtaroth, and that therefore also Chemosh is another variation of Moloch. So the Moabite stone does give us clear evidence that human sacrifice was practiced by the Moabites.
Evil will ultimately be allowed to prevail, at least for a season, against the backslider almost every time. This is a principle America would do well to consider, as the spiritual heritage of the Moabites and Ammonites is alive and well in our own day through abortion. The church is now fighting against the same spiritual forces for the very survival of our nation. Without true repentance and all-out spiritual warfare, what are our chances for victory when the demon's lust is now being gorged on the blood of not just one, but well over 1 million children sacrificed each year